Hello YouTube! Today we're talking about Volvo V70 engine mounts. How long do these last? I'm just asking questions because I can't find the information anywhere. I replaced in that video, 2 videos ago, we replaced them on the 2007 Volvo Cross Country, and it drives a lot better, although it vibrates considerably. You can just feel the engine vibrations inside. But on my Volvo 2002 Volvo V70, Volvo Brett had it a couple weeks and he even thought that it had an engine vibration, and I thought, it does seem like it. How old are those engine mounts? When do I need to replace them? All right, YouTube, let's start with what we know. In March, that's the 3rd month of 2017, that Volvo V70 got a new transmission. Boy, that isn't easy to write. I'm not a good writer. New transmission, and that was 100,397 miles ago. That's how long those have been in there. And I pulled out my old receipt from having that new transmission put in, and it says we replaced 3 engine mounts. There's actually 5. We replaced 3 with replacing the transmission, and that is the right side bottom engine mount, the front engine mount, and the rear engine mount. Nothing about the torque mounts on the top and the front bottom of the actual transmission. And then in March of 2021, I replaced the upper engine torque mount. That's the one on top, up on the crossbar beam, sits in front. And that one now has 58,000 miles. Is it March? I don't know, because we got March 2017 and March 2021. I don't know. Then, trying to look at my notes here in July, so it wasn't just March, in July of 2022, after working on the cross country, I noticed that the cross turret on the suspension brace, the big black one that upper torque mount mounts on, it has 2 mounts on either side, and they were quite a bit firmer on the cross country than they were on my V70. My V70 would just rock. So I ordered in July of 2022 the cross, I don't even know how to spell turret. Brackets. I don't even know what those things are actually called. And that was, let's see, 44,000 miles ago. That's all I've got a record of being replaced out of the 5 engine mounts on that 2002 Volvo V70. So how long do these engine mounts look? I decided, you know what? I've got the Google. I'm going to do my own research. Let me make sure it's not in here. Here, I've got the Haynes manual for the Volvo V70 and the S80, although it doesn't show a turbo in any of these pictures. But it even has a section, starts there. Chapter 1, Part A, Petrol Engines Maintenance Schedules. No mention of an engine mount anywhere. The only place in here that it even talks about an engine mount is unbolting the damn thing to take the engine out. I jumped on the web and I went to the source that knows the most, the Speeding Swedes. And lo and behold, what do I find in the message boards? Lots of data. I've got 25,000 miles. I've got 150,000 miles. And I've got 180,000 miles. It's a wide discrepancy of how long these engine mounts last on Sweeting Speeds. And one post decided to throw this in there and tell us they last exactly 140,000 kms. This is the United States of America. Nobody knows what a km is. I know you can do fractions, it's about 2/3, but nobody knows how to do 2/3 and figure out what the heck does that mean. But wait, was km? Is that kilometers? Or is this guy just confused and he's typing some sort of Volvo shorthand. I'm just here to ask questions. Giving up on speeding Swedes, not seeming to find a consensus, I went to Matthew. He knows what's up. Matthew had a lot more information in all those discussions. I pulled out a number, 75,000 miles. Again, got a note. It might be some sort of strange Volvo shorthand. And then someone said, it depends on how heavy your foot is. Foot? How heavy your foot is? And then somebody said 175,000 on the upper. And then I got another one, 75 to 80, no units, unknown, could be years, could be minutes. Mostly highway, but not jackrabbiting to get to that speed. Smooth and steady. Mythical Wyoming woodland creatures? The most informative post I've found yet. My point is, collective average lifespan is useless. Keep your eye on it. How are the Egyptians involved with the length and lifespan of my Volvo engine mounts? I'm just asking questions. Up on both of my most trusted resources on the interweb. I happened to scroll back up to the top of the page before completely just walking away from repairing my car. And I happened to notice there's an artificial intelligence search result. AI. Still coming back to the Egyptians. But the AI throws a whole different perspective on things. It says 5 to 7. 5 to 7? Years? We're not even talking miles or even those pesky 2/3 kilometer things. But you're not going to believe this. AI is so smart. They knew everything 4,000 years ago. We've got 5 to 7 years, but it depends on your driving habits. Remember, someone said before, you got a heavy foot? Like, is your foot like extra large? Your vehicle condition. Yeah, you got hail dents. Those engine mounts, they're not going to make it. Cracked windshield, you're totally screwed. Shiny and waxed, they might last forever. Road conditions. Do you live on a dirt road? Your engine mounts might be bad before you ever move there. And the vehicle age. Your vehicle's brand new, it could have completely bad, completely torn apart engine mounts. And if it's old, just take it out back and shoot it. Mm-hmm. My brain hurts, but here's what I've got. I know that if we have miles greater than X thousands, and that's proper nomenclature, X apostrophe K apostrophe S, like possessive. So if you have miles greater than some number of thousands, which could be these 25, 150, 180, 140 kilometers, 75,000 over there, or, hold on, years greater than or equal to 0. Yeah, 1 year. Actually, you just put them on, they might already be bad based upon the condition of your vehicle. I'm just finding answers to a lot of questions out there. It comes down to miles and years. Any number of these things, any real number of those, and your engine mounts are suspect. Matter of fact, if you're like me and you're just into auto repairtainment, you'd be better off buying 2 sets. First off, you install the first set and you put them on there, you lower it down, you go inside, you make a second cup of coffee, you walk right back out into that garage, you take those first set of brand new engine mounts off because of all those conditions and age and dirt roads. Get rid of those first ones and you put a second set on there immediately. Take the first ones off, second set put in there, and with the mathematics that I just figured out, you can turn 5 to 7 years. That's now, those are good for 10 to 14 years because that's the second set. Perfection. But that's not all, YouTube. I know from personal experience, knowledge, research, that if you're going to be in there, you better do some performance upgrades. And that comes from blue poly. Blue poly is so important, it's in red. That's right, blue poly. Torque mounts, upper, lower. This bad boy's gonna rip the tread off those tires. Without blue poly, you can't even open the hood of your car when you're showing off that Volvo at Cars and Coffee. You might as well go park way over there on the other side of the grocery store and walk 2 blocks in so no one sees your ride. You gotta have the blue poly because blue poly means performance. There's a C right there. Performance from the blue poly. If it doesn't have blue poly, it doesn't perform. After I get all these new engine mounts installed, because you know, I've got both miles and years, plus the blue poly performance, it's right there in red. Blue poly performance. Couldn't be as clear than that. As soon as I get this in here, I'm going to show up at Cars and Coffee a day early. I'm going to park dead center in that entire row that's always got those C4 Corvettes, lawn chairs, and white sneakers. You know they're there. I'm going to be dead center in the middle of it, hood up, and blue poly because of Volvo performance. Oh yeah, and if I don't freeze because of the winter temps in the garage, it is Black Friday and it is cold. Volvo Brett told me, hey, you better replace this thing. You got some cracking going on in the other one. Woo! It's cold out here in the garage. Some guys will do anything to avoid the mall on Black Friday. All right, YouTube, to access all these engine mounts, the first thing we got to do is we got to magically levitate the P2 Volvo, the V70. We're going to use this handy little orange device right down here, but that brings me back to how did they build the megalithic structures? How did they levitate the giant rocks? I mean, those things are bigger than the P2 V70. With the car properly levitated, almost level, we want to remove this right front wheel right there. And what you do with that right front wheel is you walk it all the way out here. You open the garage because this radiation, this Colorado sun spill is mighty warm. Way warmer than the garage with a space heater. But you place that tire right there because all these neighbors walking by with their dogs, they're just spying on you. Nobody walks a dog. When they walk by and they see one tire, they're like, damn, he's doing something serious because it's only one tire. They can't get their mind around it. He's not rotating. There's only one. Leave it there. Just leave it there in the sunshine for everybody to see when they're driving home from Black Friday shopping and walking those dogs. Walking the dogs, quote, quote. All right, here we got it up here. You want to level you want to keep your levitation of the P2 Volvo in this orientation, just like it would have appeared in the night sky all the way back in 2002, because, you know, the Earth is a reflection mirror of the heavens. That way, when we're moving around and we're using this magic levitation device on the bottom of the engine to take the pressure off these engine mounts, we want that engine moving in the correct orientation of celestial bodies for the P2 Volvo constellation. That's just how it's got to be. You got to make sure it's close to level. If your garage is like mine, a wavy gravy, who knows? Because I got like 3 waves of height on that back jack stands. And I think I had 3 or 4 shark teeth on this one. So they're not all the same height, but the floor is not either. So we can figure that one out. What I like to do here is come in here first, and with a T25 little ratchet, I like taking off these nice decorative covers on the top and freeing up the bazooka tube. Helps to free this up. Just pop it there, pop it here. Just gives a little bit of wiggle. I leave it connected front and back because what this allows me to do is get just enough space so I don't damage these electrical harnesses for the coils. And it allows me to get those blue covers out. What you do with those blue covers is I recommend you do this. You walk them out and you put them back on the roof of the car with the garage door open to the Colorado solar spill, because the neighbors are going to walk by. Remember, they're going to see that tire. That tire's still sitting right there. They're going to see this, and they're going to say, he is properly committed. That is a man doing work. But what we're going to do is, and what I want you to do when you start your engine mounts, most of the videos I've seen have you start right here with this one. That's easy. This is the easy one. It's just got to do these. This bolt comes off, one nut, bolt slides out, and 4 of those nuts, and it's quick and done. You want to save that till last. Just look at it because you know it's going to be easy. You want to save that to the end of your day. And what you want to do is you want to get down under the car, because we got an engine mount right down in there somewhere, down in that black void. There's another one back there below the turbo area. That's hard to get to. And there's another one over here that we got to go through the tire well behind this engine to get to. You want to spend your initial time on those 3. Front right, the bottom right, front, and the back. We'll start on those because your day is going to get infinitely worse. Get those hard ones done and then come back and finish your day on a high note and just feel good about what you did. All right, YouTube, I just want to share with you some knowledge I learned from watching YouTube videos myself just a week or 2 ago. The car wizard showed me this one. Does your underbody of your car even have a NACA duct? Yeah, NACA duct. N-A-C-A duct. There it is. I'll type it up in there. You can see it right there. It's somewhere across there. NACA duct. That predates NASA. Look it up. I did. I did some diving. But this right here is a NACA duct. And I learned that from the car wizard. I got a NACA duct on either side up here on the front, putting cool air onto the brakes. I got one here, probably going to the transmission, or 2 of them to the transmission. There's 2 over there, a big one there, 2 over there. Some are going up on the exhaust manifold. One's going on the turbo, that big one. But there's NACA ducts everywhere. Look them up. Yeah, it is a super wagon. All right, YouTube, gained access in here to that right lower engine mount. It is right there. Again, that one's 100,000 miles old from when we replaced the transmission. You just put a little clamp on here, hold this panel up, get that out of the way. But I'm just sitting here crisscross style contemplating the comments that are about to blow up down below because this brake line is seriously cracked. Dang, I think I actually just had this one replaced like right in COVID. Man. All right. That is getting redone on the list of things to do because I did the last video 2 videos ago on the cross country and it blew up down there saying how bad those are, and those parts are on their way. They should be here on Monday. So I'll get practice on the cross country and then we're going to do this one too. But for right now, it needs to just stay like that. That is not good. That thing is cracked. No leak though, just cracked. Whew, glad I took my own advice and started with this one because these were easy. These 214s, that's a piece of cake. And honestly, they were actually 14s on this car. The 2 right there. These 2 that actually go into the engine. These 17s were wicked tight. Wicked, wicked, wicked tight. I know it was you, Swedish Motors, because you did the transmission and you replaced that. So they don't need to be that tight. It's not even a huge torque. I'll look it up when we're going to put this thing back on and tighten them all down, but Jesus, that was tight. I actually had to hit that one with PB Blaster, get a 17 in there on it like that, and then I had to do the completely bootleg double up with another 19 millimeter to get enough leverage to get that thing to pop, and they were actually flexing. I thought I was going to lose all my teeth. I knew this was going to end up painful, and it finally broke free. They don't need to be that tight. The engine is literally sitting on them. They're not just going to miraculously, with wind resistance, fly off and go out the back of the Volvo. I know it's a fast car, but it's not that fast. I mean, it's plastic clips holding the front end. That engine is holding that down. I don't know why those were that tight. That was brutal. YouTube, I just realized I have properly sacrificed the skin off of 1, 2 knuckles. Maybe a pinky. That might be a 3rd knuckle skin there. Woo! It's going to be a proper repair day. This is going to be successful because I have done this mechanic sacrifice. So, that one's dirty. This one's clean. That's clearly an improvement. This one is compressed a little bit. Not as bad as what we saw in the XC70. The XC70, the top of this was down here where about my fingernails at. It had dropped a lot. So, it's still sitting above or, maybe 2 millimeters higher on the lip there. Whereas this one is quite a few millimeters higher than that. So, yeah, that one rocks a little bit. This one rocks a little bit. This is a Volvo OEM unit, I believe. This is a Hutchinson, who is an OEM manufacturer for Volvo. It says SD27 on the bottom. What do we have on this one? Look at, or 5 something 27. What did this one say? 3D 27. So clearly a little different stamp. But you know what? It doesn't say Volvo anywhere on there. I don't even know where it would say it. It's probably under the gunk somewhere. Who knows? Maybe it's the same unit. Don't know. But that one's coming out. That's where it sits. The engine is lifted just a wee bit on the magical levitation device there, the Daytona levitation device. I'm going to scrape off that crud. Set this down in there. It's got little pins that drop down into holes that are blocked by crud right now. We'll get those in there, tighten this thing up a little bit, and set it back down on there. All right, YouTube, I got those bolts back on there with some anti-seize. Copious amounts of anti-seize, assuming I have to ever do this again since this car's got 272,000 miles on it. Anyway, with my torque wrench, those two big 17 millimeter bolts into the subframe, first stage is 48 foot-pounds. Not a problem with that wrench. And then it says stage 2, go another 60 degrees. I attempted that with my 3/8 inch, whatever how long that thing is, maybe 12, 14 inch. And a throw of about 5 degrees per pole, getting it in there on these two with the knuckle still in place. I was only able to get that up to 20 degrees, so it's 40. I have it right now at 48 foot-pounds plus an additional 20 degrees on both of those bolts. That's all I can pull off. I don't have the strength to do any more than that. We're gonna leave it. The upper ones I think said 26 degree or 26 foot-pounds on the two bolts, the 14s that hold it onto the engine block there. They are just kind of snugly into place because I think we're going to have to loosen those back up again to get the engine high enough to get the rear mount. So let's go look at some of our other mounts we're going to do here. Our day just went from bad to worse, people. We got two of these special Swedish hydraulic jelly-filled mounts. They go on the front. They're underneath. One goes in the front of the engine. One goes behind the engine. Get a good look at what that looks like because I'm going to walk you over here and show you if I can see it. This is the hard part. Things are getting harder. See that little bolt down there? See, it's all lit right at the top of where there's a bolt all the way down there in a bracket. That's probably a 15 millimeter nut. Got to get that off. And that's the bracket that sits down and clamps on top of that jelly-filled mount. Hydraulic jelly. Swedish hydraulic jelly. And then from the bottom, there's one bolt. You can kind of see the rubber down there. I don't think this one's that bad, to be honest. But they're not that expensive. I think they were 65, 70 bucks a piece. So I'm just doing all 5 of them at once. The hard part is getting the engine up enough that you can get that thing out. What I did on the cross country is I took the shroud out and we came out this way. I know I saw videos showing you can go that direction, but to my experience, that wasn't even a possibility. We'll look once we're under there, but last one I did, we came out this way, took the shroud out, and just pulled it straight off the top. Let's see what happens. Day's getting more fun. All right, YouTube, we're still working on getting this one into the front underneath, but the engine's got to be lifted up a lot. I just went ahead and removed this. This is the old one. I have no idea what hell this is. Look at all of that movement. It even goes front. Let's see if I can do it with 2 hands. Pin it in place. It even moves front and back as well as side to side. Compared to the blue poly performance, yeah, no movement whatsoever. Front, back, nothing. Solid as a rock. That's why it's the blue poly performance. All right, so I have the 15 millimeter bolt is off the top, or nut is off the top, the bolt is off the bottom. Gotta get that engine way up in the air so I can try to get that Swedish hydraulic jelly filled front mount off. All right, YouTube, I removed the fan shroud off the back side of the radiator, the Doe 88 radiator that's in there. Just got to disconnect this, just the worm gear from the hose that takes it into the intercooler for the over the engine charge pipe, charged air over the engine pipe or whatever it is. And then I pull that out, got to worm it out, get it around the brackets, get it around the transmission cooler lines and the radiator intake here. But now you can just see down in there, the engine's high enough. I don't see how it's possible. I'm not sure how far you got to lift that engine. That was just my little undershroud falling off because it's only bolted on one side. I don't know how you can get that out. You'd have to take that engine up so high to get it out the back. I don't see how it's possible with all of these lines in place. Everything's in its way. But by doing it this way, I can just reach in there and pull it right out the top. Piece of cake. Now, is this one bad? I doubt it. I seriously doubt it. I mean, it's got a little bit of slack in the cable. Let's get this one in the same orientation. Oh, yeah, it's definitely compressed. Definitely. It's 4 or 5 centimeters smaller. So, yep, it's got a lot of slack in that cable. This cable's pretty firm because that cable is what keeps it from expanding too much as it rocks front and back. And obviously these guys are preventing that from happening. So we're going to drop this one down in there and lower it back down on there. And then we got to do another one in the back that's even worse to get to. Our day just gets better and better. All right, so that front one is in there. It is oriented like this. This has to go through, obviously, to be the 15 millimeter nut on it, but this has to orient it right behind it. You can just kind of see it. Let's see if I can light it up down there. See it? It's just peeking through the little hole behind the nut. There it is, peeking behind the little gap there. It just sits in there. This is not super tight. It's snug enough that it can't rotate and pop out of where it's supposed to be oriented. So now I'm going to drop it down, let it sit into its spot on the bottom. We'll move the levitation device over to the transmission on the back so we can rock this engine this direction, going that way, away from the back subframe, so we can get the same type of thing on the back. Not easy. All right, YouTube, I'm showing you the back side of the engine, and if you follow this heater hose right here down and just over there to the left, it's in shadow, and watch this. See that hole? Right inside that hole is a 15 millimeter nut sitting on the top of the Swedish hydraulic jelly filled rear mount. And I can just get to it with my super combo and a swivel socket. So we're going to drop it down in there, pop that thing loose. You're going to have to trust me, that top bolt is out of the top of the mount, but I went ahead and took off this one anyway because it just makes it easier to get some throw. The bazooka tube, I took it off, just undid the worm clamp on the black. You can see the blue poly hose there, silicone hose. So just pull these four 14s out of here. It's sitting over there now. You can see this was a Hutchinson, if I remember right. I replaced this one. It's a Hutchinson, and they're OEM, and you can see where they ground Volvo right off of it. So it's now sold as an unbranded Volvo, as a Hutchinson, unbranded. It wiggles and wiggles. This one does not wiggle, so we're going to feel every vibration. But you know what that means? Blue poly equals performance. Those vibrations are performance. So I'll probably keep this one around just in case I don't like this one. All right, that 15 millimeter nut on the top of the bracket fell through to the bottom. I'll get that. And now we got to go underneath and see if we can get in there. Crossing my fingers it's not super tight from Swedish Motors. And we can pop that bottom 14 millimeter bolt on the bottom of that rear mount. All right, YouTube, I gave up on that one back there. The top nut is still off of it. The 15 millimeter nut is somewhere sitting up here somewhere. I don't remember where. Find it here in a little bit. It's around here somewhere. But I gave up on it because it is so tight underneath on the bottom side. That 14 millimeter nut, I'm flexing the anti-sway bar. Finally got the swivel weeble wobble on there. It was a 14 millimeter weeble wobble. That's the 15 because I was on the top of this nut. But I had a 14 weeble wobble and got it in there. And finally, after hours of wrestling with it, my wife helped me out. She pried on it while I got the thing in there and lined up. Got it all the way on the bolt. And that bolt is on there so tight, I cannot get it off. So, Swedish Motors, I might just bring this back to you and punish you and make you do it. Oh my God. So that rear one, according to Volvo Brett, this one goes bad most frequently. The right side, passenger side, under the crank. The front one goes bad, the top one, and then the torque mount on the transmission. So that one in the back is the one that goes bad the least often. So we're going to leave it for now. I'm going to have the pros do it. That's something I'm going to gladly pay for. So now what I did is loosen this up. I still got the, you can still see there in that little opening behind the bolt. Let's see where you can see it. See the bolt? Or the nut right behind the black plastic. And then in that opening is a little tab sticking up, so that's how you know you got it aligned right. Loosened that up, dropped it down just a little bit, and from the bottom put the 14 millimeter in so they are both threaded. Now I'm going to let it sit, and then we can tighten that thing up. Just going to lower it down on its leveling device, or levitation device, whatever it is. Oh, there's the top. There's the 15 millimeter that goes on the back one. It's sitting right there on the floor. I got stuff everywhere. It's been a frustrating like 3 or 4 hours on that back one. Yeah, my day just got worse. But it's better now. I gave up. All right, YouTube. Remember I told you at the very beginning we were going to save these easy ones for last to make us feel better what we did because that kicked our ass. That kicked our ass. That one wasn't that bad, but it was super, super tight. So now we get to put the pretty blue poly on. Yeah. We're going to start with the top one. I already got the cross turret back in. It's loose. Just needs some torques here. Get it to tune, but it is on its hoses. Down in there. and back there, and I properly ran the O2 sensor, the upstream O2 sensor, around the back of the bazooka, keep it away from the heat of the engine. So yeah, time for blue poly. Presto changeo YouTube, we got blue poly cross turret engine mounting braces in. That's torqued, those are torqued. Everything's torqued. The engine mount here is back together and torqued. All I got left to do is install, that's actually sitting backwards, it faces the other way. Blue poly lower torque mount on the transmission to the subframe up front. We're gonna do that from the bottom. Hey YouTube, I got my blue poly lower torque mount in there, but I'm gonna spill some knowledge and experience on you from what I have just gained. So, that new blue polyurethane high performance doesn't move at all. And it actually sits on top of the subframe. So you stick it in there like the subframe's here. This sneaks in, goes up, drops in the holes. Do not tighten these first, because there is no way you're going to be able to flex that in blue polyurethane. This one, obviously, you could. Jesus, this thing's ridiculous. Yeah, the blue one is not like that because it is not destroyed. It does not move at all. So you have to get it threaded through these two bolts first to the transmission. Get those going nice and threaded. Pull them in nice and tight. And then put the nuts on these that are sticking down through the little holes, because remember, it goes up above the subframe and sits like that, and then this is going to sit down. You can just get it to rock enough to start threading one of those 13s into the transmission, or they gotta go that way, right? Into the transmission. I think they go that way. Into the transmission, and then I think I started with this one, and then it started and pulled it in tight, and then this one finally lined up and it went right in. Don't do these first. It's all together. I'm tired. That thing kicked my ass. I'm going to put the undershield back on there. We are going to save this for tomorrow. Good morning, YouTube. I'm back in the garage with an optimism of a brand new day after getting my butt kicked by the 5th engine mount on the back. Actually, it was the 3rd because I did the 3 on the bottom first. Gave up on that thing, but I was able to do the top ones. Felt so good. Feeling good about myself that I finished it all off, got it back together. You know, 4 out of 5 of the engine mounts, getting that done in the garage yesterday, that's a solid 80%. That's a good B. That's a good B. But today, we're going to go for extra credit, and I'm going to try to change that coolant reservoir that's all cracked up, because Brett sent me that photo. Last time it was over there, he said, hey, get this thing changed. It's going to crack on you and strand you. So, yeah, I got that. We're going to jump in there today. That's our deal. A little extra credit. Maybe get that up to solid 85%. Solid B territory. That's what we're doing. Yeah. Oh, and by the way, I think blue poly performance means that when the car is running, that you can feel that the engine is running through every portion of your body intimately. It vibrates. Blue poly vibrations. But that's performance. All right, so here's my thought on how we're going to tackle this today. I'm going to siphon the coolant out of that as best I can, because I don't want to open up the plug. I put in the Doe 88 aluminum radiator. See the shiny bits right there? That's the coolant line for the transmission going in there. But down on the bottom is a big, and I mean big, bolt for the drain on the radiator. And I don't want to drain that much out. I'm not sure how easy that thing's going to be able to get it back in there. It has never leaked since I put it in this summer. Has a seal on it that I don't want to mess with because it's perfect. Want to leave it, so I only need to drain the coolant out of that reservoir, the extra reservoir up there. Don't want to drain it out of here and have to deal with burp and everything, so we're just going to siphon as much as we can out of there, and then hopefully I don't spill a ton all over the floor. Got my parts here. This is aftermarket Molly from, I think this came from IPD. Got a cap and the coolant reservoir. Don't want to break that, so we're going to set it up there so it doesn't fall and shatter itself. They suggested, and I was afraid not to, buying the sensor for the coolant level that goes in the bottom of it. So I got a new one of those because apparently, depending on how old that is, the one that's on there may not fit on that one. I'm not sure about that, but I got it just in case. Wasn't that expensive. And I don't know what these are for. It came with 2 copper washers. So it doesn't have any bolts that hold it on to anything. So I'm really not sure what these are for. Hopefully, I mean, it just has 2 hoses on it and it hangs on clips. So I'm not really sure what that's about. Maybe they go on the bottom where that goes up inside there? I'm not really sure. So we're just going to stick those right there for later. Well, maybe when we pull this one off, when it's drained out and not leaking everywhere, crossing my fingers. We'll see if there's copper washers somewhere that they got to go on there. But the first task of the day is we just got to separate off these tabs. So it's hanging, the coolant reservoir itself is hanging on 2 tabs right here. You can see them right there. 1, 2. You don't want to break those. And then hanging on to the coolant reservoir, so piggybacking the coolant reservoir, is the power steering reservoir. So you just got to get a screwdriver in here and pop that just enough to get it to slide up without breaking it, because you don't want to go from replacing this one to replacing a twofer. So just got it propped up here. I just used a little tiny screwdriver and got in there really lightly and lifted it up, pull it off of here, and you got just enough hose on the power steering system that you can get it up on top and out of the way. Don't create leaks, don't pry it too far. Now you can see our coolant, and I'm just going to take, I have this old section of some sort of hose, not for fuel injection, so probably, I don't know, vacuum line, not sure what that was. Anyway, we're going to stick it in there. I got the big AutoZone bucket because it's a big target when this thing starts flowing. And I'm just going to see how much of it I can get out as quick as possible out of that. And we'll undo some hoses and hopefully they come off. Those hoses were only put on there when I did the radiator. So they haven't been on there that long. Hopefully they are not meltrified. Well, YouTube, that works sort of. One, it tastes terrible and you can't see it coming through a black hose to tell when it's about ready to get you in the mouth. So it got me in the mouth, but I was able to pour it in there. It went down fairly quick, but it stopped because that's as far as I can reach. I think there's a gap in there. If I can find a clear plastic hose, I might have some. I can get down in there deeper and start over and taste some more coolant. All right, YouTube, I didn't have any clear hose. All I had was some of this old, I think this is windshield washer fluid line. Might be from a Previa van. I don't know. That's really skinny. It's not for the Volvo. That's the Volvo line. I don't know what that is. Maybe that goes to the back? Can't remember. But I had some of that. So I stuck it down in there. It is tucked way down in the corner, way down in there, and it is sucking down super, super slowly. And I can show you. See it? It just kind of super slow, but it's working and it tastes terrible. So yeah, have something to get that out of your mouth. That's gross. Slowly but surely, it has drained out. There's just a wee bit in there. I'm not too worried about it. I just read the Haynes manual, and it says you don't even have to drain this thing. You can just lift it out of its place, turn it upside down, and dump it out. So, yeah, interesting. So, here we go. I am not worried about that leaks out. It's not going to cause that big of a mess. I can throw a towel down there. Not very much came out. We'll just top that off with new once we get it all reconnected. And we're still got to figure out what are the copper washers for. I'm just asking questions. Those copper washers, they were in the little carton box with the green cap. And there's no need for a washer on that cap. YouTube, that wasn't that bad. This one comes off, obviously. There's very little coolant in it. You can just kind of tip it up. There's like a little bit of liquid in there I'm going to mop up. We're disconnected except for the connector still on the bottom. Ooh, weird. What's all the residue on the bottom? Oh, that's just grease and stuff. I don't know. We'll find out. Got to disconnect this connector, but there's a little, keeping this up at high. Again, these had only been on there, that was probably July, August that the new radiator went in. So those blue hoses haven't been on there a long time to transmogrify onto the plastic. So they came off fairly easy. So let me get that disconnected and we'll swap this out. All right, YouTube, it's going back together easy. I don't think those copper washers came with that. I think they're part of my brake kit. Anyway, brake caliper rebuild kit. So they were just in the box. There, it's connected. I got the hose on there. This is not tightened up yet, but it's super easy. I just got to show you, we have a primordial toe back here. There's an extra primordial clip. I knew about the two on the top, but there's a third one on the bottom, and it slides right in there. Primordial clip. Volvo thought of everything. And just like that, it's all clipped back together. Clip is on. The hoses are connected. It doesn't sit as far down there as I anticipated. It just kind of sits up a little bit. It's not going to hit anything, obviously. But it just can't go any lower because it sits right against this ventilation and electrical lines for the computer modules that are sitting in there. So, yeah, that's good. Computer modules right next to water. Water's higher. Of course it is. That way it can drain right in there to the electronics. Oh my gosh, the wonders never cease. Not to be outdone, the power steering reservoir has two primordial clips down in there. They kind of grab his side fingers and slide down underneath on both sides. You can see those white tabs sitting down in there. They just grab them and locks in. We're good to go. Let's fill this up with coolant. You know, YouTube, that's kind of easy. Not that bad. Might have overfilled it just a couple millimeters there, but it'll be fine. It's kind of sitting in there at an angle the way it's sitting. So, it's connected. Kind of getting your hands back in there, tighten stuff up. It's not that bad. Draining it out took the longest part. Getting to taste the antifreeze was an extra bonus. But yeah, that's extra credit for the day. I'm going to give myself an 80. You know, we got 4 out of 5 on the engine mounts. I'm going to give myself a solid 85% because of the 5 points of extra credit right there. Now it's time to grab my daughter. We're going to take this bad boy, test out this blue poly performance. We're going to head down to Matamoros, Mexico. Here we go. Oh yeah, it's vibrating. That's performance, baby. The blue poly bushing, the blue poly bushing performance upgrade. You can feel it. I'm gonna have to Loctite every bolt on this car. It's gonna take me months. Oh. All right, let's go performance this thing. Let's go performance test. Oh my goodness. All right, YouTube, it took us a little bit to get down here, but we have finally reached just south of Matamoros, Mexico, and a funny thing happened. It's still snowy. I did not anticipate that. Anyway, we're out here testing the blue poly. It's a bit vibrating. You can definitely feel it, especially in idles at stop signs, but we just want to see, is there the blue poly performance upgrade? So we came down to little Matamoros, Mexico to give it a shot. Here we go. Whoa! Woo! All right, YouTube, I think we have solved the secret of the Volvo engine mount longevity. You got years, you got miles, they're suspect. Change those things out. You want to go with the blue poly? Prepare to be vibrated. But if you turn on that engine or that seat heater and rev it up a little bit, it's just like a massage chair. It's kind of nice. It's extra premium quality here. So just remember, if I can replace 4 out of 5 engine mounts, so can you. Be safe. Jump down there, hit subscribe.